Hey guys, it's another small group night, and I've got Chad Graham with me today. So everybody say hi to Chad.
Hey.
Or Chad, say hi to everybody, I guess. You did. All right, so it's Super Bowl Sunday, and we know you want to get back to pizza and wings and the game, so we've just got our fast break, halftime Devo for you today. We got one icebreaker, we got two questions. You can pick your question. So, Chad, what's the icebreaker tonight?
Absolutely. So, spoiler alert for those of you who haven't seen The Sixth Sense, but give an example of a time you had a movie, a book, a TV show where it was spoiled. So I'm going to give you an example, and I'm going to spoil The Sixth Sense for you. But I feel like we've reached that point in time where it's been enough years that you've had your chance to watch the movie, so it's on you.
It's been like 20 years.
Yeah, so
I give people 6 months, tops. You haven't seen it in 6 months? Too bad.
So ultimately, I'll keep it short because we want to get back to football. But ultimately, Bruce Willis is dead the entire movie. So if you're watching it, it's going to look really weird and it's going to ruin the entire movie for you. So I apologize if you haven't seen it. But Bruce Willis is dead, and that's how all that comes about.
Can't believe it. So is Walter White. Oops, did I just do that?
Spoiler time.
So, who spoiled something for you? Was it a book? Was it a movie? How did it happen?
How did you feel? Just talk about all the emotions, because sometimes...
How did you get revenge? That's the most important part
That's
of
a
the
good question. Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, two questions from today's message from Luke 2, verses 22 to 40. So if you haven't had a chance to read the verses, you could do that. The first one is about the people in the story. We had Joseph, we had Mary, we had Jesus as an infant, and we had these two righteous people, Simeon and Anna, who had been waiting in Jerusalem and living faithful lives. So read the text if you haven't read it yet, and the question is this: who do you identify with? What points of their story map over your story? Are you in a place where your dedication to God is something you're still receiving from the blessings of your parents? Is it something you're doing for somebody, like you're in that role of being a parent? Have you been widowed, widower, and spent years of faithful service to God, missing your family? Are you waiting for a particular moment of culmination in your life? Like, which of these stories maps for you? So
I think on top of that too is think about how, as time has progressed, who have you identified with, and how has that changed? Like, you may have identified with one character in the story maybe 10 years ago. What does that look like now? And like, what are the different perspectives you have as well with each of those identities?
Good. So that's kind of question one. If you want to choose that one, is who do you identify with and why? The second one is a little different. There's some really dark notes in the prophecy that Simeon makes about Jesus, that there's going to be suffering. He turns to Mary aside without Joseph, and he says to her, he will cause the falling and rising of many in Israel, and he's going to reveal hearts. He'll be a sign of controversy that'll divide people, and even a sword will pierce your own heart, Mary. And he doesn't mention anything about Joseph. We presume he probably knew through his prophecy that Joseph was already going to be gone, and Mary was going to experience the crucifixion of Jesus alone. Those are tough messages to hear, that God's plan for you has suffering in it, and that God's going to work through and around that. So today, watching the Super Bowl with all its glitz and glamour, its multi-million-dollar ads, there's a whole week of parties in Miami where people just let loose and lived it up. I'm not sure that we really understand that God can achieve things through suffering or through anything other than glitz and glamour. So I want you to just talk about, if you choose question two, how does this contrast with the world that we live in, that thinks that you only win by winning, that God only achieves things through power, through money, through success, through prestige? How do these dark notes in the story show up in your life? How has God worked through them?
And we all like a happy ending, right? And so
Yeah.
I feel like the story, we all want to have a happy ending within our lives, right? And so we want to have things go our way, we have certain control over things. And suffering may be kind of a difficult word to incorporate into your life. But, think about some of the hard times that you may have had where, like, for us, I wouldn't go as far, like, maybe not suffering, but, like, we moved away to Nashville for a year, and we realized a lot about ourselves. We realized a lot about this community as well, and grew us ultimately closer to God. That year was not necessarily fun, going through that and going there and coming back. We all know moving and some of the stresses that has, and we had a baby on top of all that to add to the stress. So ultimately, it made us much closer to God, much closer to kind of our vision for our family and within God. So still trying to figure that out along the way.
So, pick one of the questions and have a great small group time. Spoiler alert, Jesus rises from the dead at the end, so things do work out. And how about a spoiler alert on the football game? What are you calling the final score?
Well, because the Titans aren't in it, got my heart broke. So I kind of told the football season has ended. But if I have to pick one, I say 49ers 21, Kansas City Chiefs 0. Maybe a little bitter because the Titans lost to the Chiefs.
I got the Chiefs 41. I got the Niners 38. So we'll see who's the prophet. Bye, guys. Have a great week.